All right, let's talk about Veterans Day. It's one of those holidays that comes around every year, November 11th, but for a lot of us, there's still a little bit of fog around it. What's it really all about? How did it even start? And maybe most importantly, how do you talk about it without feeling awkward? Well, that's exactly what we're going to clear up today. So let's get right to it. The big question a ton of people have. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, what is the actual difference? And hey, let's throw Armed Forces Day in there too. They all honor our military, that's for sure, but they each have a super specific, really important job to do. Okay, this chart lays it all out, nice and simple. Let's look. Veterans Day, that's our focus on November 11th. This one is for all U.S. military veterans, living or past, everyone who has ever served. Now, Memorial Day, that has a much more solemn, specific focus. It's to honor those who died while in military service. And Armed Forces Day, that's for the folks who are currently in uniform, serving right now. So the big takeaway for Veterans Day is this. It's a day of thanks for literally everyone who has ever worn the uniform. So to really get to the heart of Veterans Day, we've got to jump in a time machine. We're heading back, way back, to the end of a conflict so huge they called it the war to end all wars. I mean, look at that timing. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That is not a coincidence. Not at all. That is the exact moment the armistice with Germany went into effect, and the guns of World War I finally fell silent. Can you just imagine the wave of relief, but also the quiet, somber mood that washed over the entire world? And just a year later, President Woodrow Wilson really put that feeling into words. He said, "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride and with gratitude for the victory." You hear those words? Solemn pride. This wasn't about big parties and parades back then. It was a quiet, deeply respectful day of remembrance. And it was called Armistice Day. But history doesn't stand still. The world changed. And the meaning of this day, well, it had to change too. It was time for it to grow, to evolve from honoring the veterans of just one war to honoring them all. And believe it or not, a lot of that change came from the vision of just one guy. So let's walk through how this happened. It starts in 1918 with the Armistice. Then in 1938, Congress makes Armistice Day a real legal holiday. But then, the big one, 1945. World War II has just ended, and a WWI vet named Raymond Weeks has this idea. He says, hey, why are we only honoring folks from the First World War? We should honor all veterans. And that idea? It caught on. Fast forward to 1954, President Eisenhower signs it into law, and bam, the name is officially changed to Veterans Day. There was a little weird period where they moved the date, but by 1978, everyone agreed it needed to be back on its original powerful date, November 11th. And we really have to give this guy, Raymond Weeks, his due. This wasn't just some passing thought he had. No way. He tirelessly campaigned for this change. He even led the very first national celebration in his home state of Alabama. His passion, his dedication, that's why today he's known as the father of Veterans Day. Pretty cool, right? All right, let's get into something that might seem kind of nerdy, but I promise the meaning behind it is huge. We're going to talk about grammar. Yeah, you heard me. Specifically, we're talking about a single, tiny apostrophe. So you've probably seen it spelled all sorts of ways, right? With an apostrophe before the S, after the S, but the official correct spelling is just VETERANS Day, no apostrophe at all. And the reason why, straight from the Department of Veterans Affairs, is actually really profound. The day doesn't belong to veterans. It's not possessive. It is a day for honoring all veterans. It's a subtle difference in punctuation, but man, it carries a whole lot of meaning. Okay, so we've got the history, we understand the name, but what does that mean for us today? How do we actually observe the day in a meaningful way? I mean, beyond just knowing some government offices are closed. Here's something I bet a lot of you don't know. There's actually a U.S. law on the books that recommends a nationwide 2 minutes of silence. It's meant to be a moment for all of us to just stop, to pause, to reflect, and to really think about the service and sacrifice of our country's veterans. All right, let's shift gears and get super practical. We've talked a lot about the why of the day. Now let's talk about the how. As in, how do you actually personally thank a veteran in a way that feels right? This is a big one. A lot of us get tripped up here. Is it okay to say Happy Veterans Day? It just feels a little off, doesn't it? Kind of like saying Happy Memorial Day. And for good reason. For so many veterans, their time in service involved things that were tough, dangerous, things that were the opposite of happy. The day is really about honor and gratitude. So even though the intention behind saying happy is totally good, the consensus is that keeping it simple is the way to go. A straightforward, heartfelt thank you for your service is pretty much perfect. It's respectful, it's sincere, and it gets right to the point of what the day is truly about. But what if you want to say a little more? Maybe it's a family member or a close friend. Well, think of these 5 things as a kind of toolkit. You can start with gratitude, you can show your pride in them, you can talk about the legacy they're a part of, share that patriotic feeling, or, and this is a really good one, you can get specific about their branch. Yeah, tailoring your message to their specific branch just shows you put in that little extra bit of effort. Saying Semper Fi to a Marine or talking about aiming high with an Air Force vet. It just adds a personal touch that can make your thank you feel that much more special. Look, at the end of the day, here's the bottom line. You don't have to write a poem. You don't need some big, elaborate speech. The best message is always the one that's simple, honest, and comes straight from you. That's all that matters. So there you have it. We've gone from the history to the meaning of the name to how we can all show our respect. We've traced the journey from a quiet, solemn armistice to a nationwide day of gratitude, which really just leaves one last thing for you to think about. This November 11th, who will you thank?